welcome to Honestly Rated, and today we'll be talking about your favorite Sonic fan, Spotlight. I guess you can say it's time for Spotlight to get her spotlight on Honestly Rated. Was that a corny joke? Yeah, but it's true. We've done Nightmare, we've done Nightlight, and we even done Blackout. The only person we're missing now is Spotlight. So let's take a look at our overall moves and gameplay and even design to really see if Spotlight was ever honestly any good. But before we do that, let me give you her lore. Spotlight was found in the Prismatic Palace. For the reason being is that Master Eon was seeking out the Crystal Orb of Light. When Eon touched this orb, it became infused with Eon's magic and became Spotlight. He really didn't know what Spotlight was just because Spotlight isn't one of the common 8 elements, but he felt that the ancients sent Spotlight to him for a reason. So Master Eon took her to the Core of Light to train her, and she was going to be a Skylander. The only problem to this is that when Chaos destroyed the Core of Light, she vanished. And I'm guessing with all the stuff that happened with, Light and Dark and Trap Team, that's when she came back. They don't say that specifically, but I'm guessing. So shout out to Spotlight, I guess. Now with the lore out the way, let's go take a look at Spotlight and see how bright she can truly shine. Starting off with our first moves, we have I-Beams and Halo Rings. When it comes to Spotlight, I honestly find her to be a pretty fun character even off rip. She has a special kind of uniqueness to her that just shines really bright, and I'll explain to you why. When it comes to Spotlight, her first move is her I-Beams. These I-Beams have multiple interactions, but we only have one to talk about, and that's with the rings. But if we don't use the rings, the I-Beams are something that do 32 damage and can only hit up to one enemy at a time. Now moves like these are kind of tricky because usually they're kind of bad. You move slower when you shoot them, hitting one enemy at a time definitely hurts when you're trying to fight multiple enemies, and also kind of hurts when you have to kill multiple enemies that have really high health or you're playing at a very high difficulty, because getting hit is just a lot easier because of it. But with the rings that we have, things kind of change, and for the better. When it comes to Spotlight's rings, they don't act like a certain blue hedgehog. They act like refractors. The rings can also act as many different other things. They're also a projectile that does 27 damage. This 27 damage can also be dealt if an enemy just walks into it, because they'll be sitting on the ground spinning around like, again, a certain blue hedgehog. Sadly, when you walk into them, you can't pick them up, but again, you can shoot your I-Beams into it. If you shoot your I-Beams into it, it acts like, again, a refractor. This allows for your beams to spin in a circle depending on which way the ring is spinning, because sometimes it goes the other way just to fuck with you. This doesn't make the damage increase in any way, but it also allows for the beam to go through enemies. Not the beam that is shooting and spinning, but the beam that you're able to make if you have multiple rings down. You can have up to 3 rings for now, and you have to have them somewhat close. The reason being is that your light beam isn't infinite, so you have to make sure you keep them somewhat close or they're not going to reach each other. And another thing you can do if you keep your rings kind of close, you can make them into a wall. Enemies can't walk through your rings, nor can they hit them, so if you place 3 really close to each other, there's some times where enemies will just walk into it and get stuck, allowing you to get free damage off and just sit behind cover. The reason I really enjoy this type of play is because you have to think. There's a lot of characters out there that you just kind of press the buttons, you mash it, you maybe press another one with it, and you just kind of get through things. But with this, you have to think about where you want to place your rings, how you want to place them, or even if you want to use your ring. There are certain situations where you might just want to use a straight projectile. There's a lot of it that goes into it, and personally, I find it to be really fun, and she definitely is harder because of it, but I don't think that should take anything away from her. Yeah, she might not be super consistent just because anytime she does her light refractor, the light spins around like a lighthouse, but she's still pretty fun, and we have a whole list of upgrades to go through, so hopefully it only makes her better. With our first 2 that we can buy, we have Bright Eyes and Heavenly Aura. When it comes to the first upgrade we can buy, it's gonna be a damage upgrade. Now personally, I'm kind of stickler for these kind of things just because most Skylanders realistically don't even need it, but Spotlight is someone that I'm actually quite happy having it really early on. Remember, Spotlight can only hit up to 1 enemy at a time if she doesn't use her ring, so just having a faster output is definitely nice for those high HP targets. And the damage carry on to when you actually refract it off a ring, so again, quite nice. For our second upgrade, we have the Heavenly Aura, and not to flex, but I promise you, all the HUDs tell me that I have this in my dreams. I promise you, it's the same as if someone said it to me in real life. With this Heavenly Aura, we're able to set up little spots that are brighter than the goddamn sun. It only does 24 damage, but it does it quite constantly. You can set up a lot of these. I really couldn't even get a count on how many, just because how the fuck am I supposed to count just pure white? But you can have up to at least 6. And they do stack, so the more you put in one single place, the more that they're just gonna keep doing 24 damage. This is where you can try to mix it in with the rings and try to set up those little traps that I told you about, dealing 27 damage and 24 at the exact same time, and enemies can't chase you, so you can just shoot your beam at them, doing also the increased damage. It's definitely a setup tool you need to use, and you should just be freely throwing trying them out. But please wear some goddamn sunglasses. These things are so bright. Then for our last two, we have the Halo effect and Hello Halos. This is probably where we get the worst upgrade for Spotlight. Not because it's bad, it's because it takes away her uniqueness, and that being the Halo effect. Before I talk about that though, let me quickly just mention the Hello Halos. We can have up to 4 of them on screen at any time, and personally it's just really not that big of a deal because of the Halo effect. What the Halo effect allows you to do is that anytime you throw a halo at an enemy, it'll give them a halo. This halo makes them slower for whatever reason, and overall you would think it would be a pretty good upgrade. Enemies are slowing down, it allows you to prep your rings, make a nice setup, and then absolutely blitz them to death. And that's what I thought too. But there's only one problem. These fat asses will consume every ring there ever is. No matter if your ring's already on the ground or you're throwing more at them even though they already have a halo on them, they will eat every single ring. So when there's a big group of enemies, they might potentially eat every single ring you have placed on the ground. And since your rings are projectiles and have target priority, sometimes you'll throw rings at enemies even though you don't want them to. It makes setting up for Spotlight so much harder, and takes away the fact that you can use the rings as a beacon. Yeah, you could throw maybe 1 to 2 before some enemy eats it, and if an enemy does decide to pick it up, you can still continue to shoot at that ring even though it's not there, but it makes setting up again so much harder. I liked it when you could just throw them at their face and it would land right in front of their feet, allowing you to do damage immediately. Instead, now you have to look away from them, further back, set it up, wait for them to come to you, and you can no longer have those wall ring setups anymore. If you throw enough at their face, sometimes they'll just have it lay on the ground, but it's honestly quite a shame. Personally, I think if the laser was able to bounce off the rings on these enemies' head, that would be a pretty great upgrade, and again, keep the whole ring factor. But with every enemy being able to eat it, or consume it, or pick it up like that goddamn blue hedgehog, it takes the most unique feature for the ring and just throws it away. Instead of it being a setup tool and something you can use to make really crazy plays, now it's just a simple projectile that you throw to get damage and also slow enemies, no longer really having the beacon effect anymore. And it's truly a shame. Just like that one Beyonce song, I was gonna put a ring on this ring because I love it so much. And now it looks like it's time for me to go back to the jeweler or file for divorce. Something, I don't fucking know. The first path we're gonna take a look at is gonna be the Visionary path with Aura Charge and Light It Up. The first thing I'll talk about in this path is gonna be Light It Up. This for one allows us to have our beams reach a farther distance in both the ring form and just shooting it normally, which is really nice. Since we really don't want our rings close together anymore since enemies can pick them up and eat them, so splitting them up and trying to make a lot of light beams off of your rings is a whole lot smarter move. And we also get to do more damage because of this upgrade, now doing 66 damage. So shredding things hasn't been any easier. And speaking about shredding things, Aura Charge is another thing that completely destroys anybody. You're now able to shoot your I-beams into the aura, charging it and making it do insane amount of damage at 98. And again, this damage racks up really quickly because of the aura. And it also lasts for a very long time. Only if we had a certain projectile that could act like a wall to keep enemies still. It's a really good move, and even though we can't have our ring walls anymore, don't forget we can slow them down with the rings, so they'll be staying in the aura for even longer. And we have one more upgrade that adds another pretty cool effect, so let's go talk about it. And that move being Bling. Shout out to Bling Bling Boy because now we got 2 rings instead of 1, and honestly it's quite nice. And it's for the simple reason, when you throw a ring at an enemy, at least one of them's gonna land on the ground. Do that enough times and hey, a lot of your rings will be able to make a chain. And bringing back that uniqueness that Spotlight had in the beginning. If there's still a big group of enemies, yeah, most of the time the rings are gonna be eaten, but with a sizable group, at least one will land. And since we can only have 4 rings, you only have to press a button 2 times to land your max. And since we have longer lasers, we don't really have to worry about putting them too close to each other. Overall, it's a pretty great upgrade. If you want to feel a little bit of the uniqueness that Spotlight used to have, this is definitely the way to go. But let's go on to the bottom path and show you what that can do too. With the bottom path, we have the Ringer path, with our first upgrade being Heavy Halo and also Ring Shot. When it comes to Heavy Halo, I personally find it to be a double-edged sword. For the reason being is that this upgrades our Halo to be 1, bigger, and then 2, do more damage. When rings are thrown onto enemies, they now do 55 damage, which is actually more than our laser beam, and again, they are also bigger. But when it comes to being bigger, I don't really find to really like it. The reason the being bigger thing would be nice is just because then you have an easier time hitting your laser onto it comparatively before. But with them also being bigger, that means enemies have an easier time of hitting your ring. And obviously if the enemies hit the rings, that takes the ring off the field and you can't use it anymore. And it definitely kind of sucks because of the second upgrade, that being Ring Shot. Now if we look at the description of Ring Shot, it says that we get to shoot light beams out of our rings without even having to do a thing. And obviously that sounds amazing. We get to shoot the same thing that Spotlight does when she shoots the I-beams into the rings. Who wouldn't want that? Well, sadly, Skylanders got into clickbait because that's not exactly what gets shot at all. It's actually just little white dots that just kind of fire outwards. Now, to be fair, these little white dots do actually pack a punch, dealing 69 damage per hit. Nice. It shoots it like every 1 second too, The only problem is that the thing isn't that big, so it hitting an enemy isn't really, you know, gonna happen a lot. But hey, if you stack them all in one single spot, you can have like a fucking turret system out there, which is actually kind of the smarter thing to do, because if you're able to keep all your rings in one single place and let it just shoot out a bunch of different little white balls, enemies hopefully won't get close to it, and it can get free damage as you're far away, and you can throw more if you want to use the actual beacon effect. It is a nice upgrade, but I still hate that they say light beams. This is not a fucking beam, it's a ball. For our last upgrade on this path, we have uplifting experience. If you thought this upgrade was gonna be us talking to the enemies and trying to change them to be good, I don't know why the fuck you would want that, but sadly that isn't what you're gonna get. Instead, you're gonna get a move where anytime we put a halo on an enemy and we use our light aura, they'll start flying upwards and then eventually falling down. It's a semi-okay upgrade. It is kind of funny seeing every enemy just kind of float upwards, but anytime they actually do this, when they fall back down, they'll lose their halo, which if you don't remember, our halos cause slowness to any enemy that we hit, making it so we have to reapply it once again, which makes you kind of have to use your halos more as a actual projectile than just placing them on the ground, just because Spotlight isn't a character that can really handle a lot of heat at once. Now the damage that does come off of this is pretty nice. Since they're sitting in the aura, they're taking aura damage, and obviously they take damage from the halo that you placed on them. But there's nothing really that great about this upgrade. You can't really hit them when they're in the sky because we only have a beam. Our other upgrade with our little light balls can't even hit them in the sky either. It's a move where it's a lot of waiting, and honestly, I don't really like waiting. And the damage that comes off of it really isn't that good. It's not really good at crowd control either. Again, it's pretty mediocre. It is a funny move, and it does kind of make sense for, you know, like a halo going into the cloud type shit, but how it fundamentally works in the game is just kind of bland, and also just, again, mediocre. But you see, if they sent them to hell, maybe then it would be kind of cool. Then for our soul gem, we have the light dragons. You know what's better than one spotlight? Multiple spotlights. And that's what this upgrade gives us entirely. Anytime you throw your light beam into your aura, you're able to summon another version of you. This dragon likes dragging their nuts across any enemy's face and does a pretty solid damage of 110. It's a very simple upgrade. It's a very good upgrade and works really well with the top half because we have that one upgrade that makes it so we can do more damage with our aura when we shoot it with our beam. Does really solid damage, helps kill things really quickly, especially for a character that has a hard time with, again, a lot of crowd control. And hey, the faster you can kill enemies, the more rings you can keep on the ground. It's a nice soul gem and definitely helps out Spotlight a good amount. But with that, that was the last thing we had to take a look at Spotlight for, and now it's time for me to give you my honest rating on Spotlight. In the beginning, I think Spotlight is a really fun character. She was a person that you had to really think a lot for, because if you didn't, you would probably get hit a bunch and die kind of quickly. Chaining your rings together to make those light lines was really fun, and just trying to place your rings as walls was also pretty cool. But after they made it so the ring was more of a projectile that applied slowness, she lost a lot of her magic, especially if you go with the bottom path too. Because while the beginning was a lot more calculated on how you had to play, by the end of it was a lot more spammy. Like rings, you would just try to spam them in one single place so you can get all your like little white balls to shoot out. You would also try to put them in the same place so enemies wouldn't walk into them. Light auras, you would spam a bunch in one single area, charge them up, do a lot of damage. And instead of chaining your rings together, you normally just place down one and use it as just a beacon effect. Now I'm not saying all this because I think Spotlight isn't fun, but there was this type of charm to her that just kind of got lost. If I had to talk about the pauses, I definitely think the top path is probably the best one to go with. You can kill pretty quickly, it works out pretty well with the soul gem, and even though I was kind of hating on the aura thing, it is a good upgrade. Giving the beam bigger damage is also kind of nice, and overall I think that's the path you should go with. But by the end of it, she becomes kind of this hybrid where you do have to kind of think where you want to place your rings, but definitely not as much as the beginning. And that kind of sucks because even if she was a little bit worse than she is right now, she would be 10 times more fun to play. But by the end of it though, my honest rating of her is going to be a solid 3 out of 5. But with that, that has been Spotlight Honestly Rated. Let me know what you think about Spotlight in the comments below, and also let me know what Skylander you want to see next on Honestly Rated. Leave a like if you like this video, leave a dislike if you hate this video, I don't really care. And let me just say thank you for making it all the way to the end. If you want to see some more Honestly Rated, you can click the playlist that's in the description or on your screen now. And if you want to see any more of these do come out every single Saturday, at least I've been trying to make those deadlines. But if I don't make it by that time, subscribing will make sure you'll never miss out on another one. So hopefully next time, I'll see you and everybody else for another Honestly Rated. Peace.